Excellent. Yes, it will. All right. Hey, so I'm excited to be with you. Got a lot of visitors in. And how many people do we have online? Do we know?
I would say 19.
David, good to have you in here, man. Stop the train. Holy cow. This is good, Michael. All right. There's a lot of money in, oh my gosh, there's a lot of money in this place. All right. I'm looking all around, Marilee. There's a lot of money here, just so you know. All right. All right. Now I better really perform. All right. All right. How many of you know what's happened on December 13th? Come on, my mortgage people know what's happened on December 13th. Dan, what's happened on December 13th?
Oh, shoot. I should know the answer to that.
Everyone knows the answer. People are Googling it.
Oh, yeah, the Fed.
That's right. The Fed is talking. That's right. The Fed is talking. So, truly, we'll get to that. But thank you for being here, guys. And thank you for support. I'm excited to be with you. And it's been so fun to watch so much progress within the organization. It's been fun today. We've kind of taken over that room. Amy, forgive me for that 1 hour, but we're setting like 10 plus appointments a day with recruiting. It's been so fun to see what's happening, what you guys are doing. And really, I mean, I'm looking around the room, so many of the people that are in here are who helped build everything that we have and what we did when John and I sat around a little conference room table with Gretchen and a few others and said, hey, we should build a real estate company. And John's response was,
Oh, you want me to say
well,
it?
yeah, you said it, so you should be the guy to say it.
If anybody else asked me that question, I'd say you're crazy.
And since here we are, right? Here we are.
Crazy.
And then my other favorite quote, even though he had to step out, he's at a doctor's appointment with his wife, but is Dave's partner there, Jeremy Laguerre. When I said, do you remember this? When I said, I'm going to open this company. It's not going to change anything for you and Dave. And then Jeremy's comment is, I don't think that anything that someone has done in my life has changed and impacted my life more than you when you said, hey, I'm going to open a real estate company. So anyway, it's fun to be with you guys. All right, so let's just jump into some good stuff. And we may have to pull some chairs out of there, but the fun part of things like this, guys, is that people always ask, like, what's the occasion? Mike, you've been here long enough, and granted, the occasion is right. We're seeing market shifts, we're seeing different things in the market, but the fact is that this is a really unique thing. And Austin, I appreciate what you said recently, and I may have not heard it right from you, but I think I heard it from Dave. We were hanging out, and he said, I went and visited. Austin had a friend or two at another company. He went over to another company just to see what his buddy was doing, and he realized, man, there is like the powerhouses are coming in, man. And he said, and I quote, if I'm wrong, I thought you said something like Everest is the last hope.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. I don't want to make sure I don't put words in your mouth.
There's a Ronald Reagan quote where he's talking about America, where it's
right.
Like, if we lose it in America, there's nowhere else to run to. And I said, that's how Everest is.
Yeah.
These other companies, like I went and go see my friends over there, it is dead.
Yeah.
Nothing is going on there. And I walk in, I'm like, I thought our office was empty. This thing is a ghost town.
Right.
And I come back here and it's live, everyone's around, there's energy. So
yeah, people doing stuff, right?
And bringing energy, but if we lose that at Everest, there's nowhere else to go. It is the last hope.
There we go. That's our tagline.
There it is.
What's happening, man? Wow.
Wow.
You didn't really, some of these people are visitors and like, why is everyone so excited? It's good stuff. That's the first time you've seen him since he's been back?
No.
All right, good deal. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about we're going to talk about we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about how to build our lives. We're going to talk about building teams. We're going to talk about how to become better. But look, but let me tell you, one of the very first things of great leadership, and Woody Allen said it best when he said 80% of success is simply just showing up. And part of the fact of showing up is part of the success is you showing up. So awesome job. I love it. But I want to get into some real specific things in regards to the market. So December 13th is a big day. There's two fundamental things right now that are either driving or hurting or impacting rates. First one is the mortgage-backed securities. If you look at mortgage-backed securities, I just want to mention this before we start, there's an inflated rate. There's about 1.1% inflation or inflationary rate, or I almost want to say an artificial rate would be a better word to say, that's in the mortgage-backed securities. the market is waiting. That I'm telling you, on there, you can go look at the stats. There's literally, you can bet on this thing, like literally you can bet on it. But on December 13th, what they're hoping, and there's a 95% chance that they believe that what's his name, right? What's his name? Powell, right? Powell is going to say we're not going to be adjusting rates. When that happens, mortgage-backed securities, they believe, will start backing off of this artificial rate. Traditionally, there's about 190 basis points when mortgages are outsold into the actual open market, literally into the market. That rise is now nearly it's 3% today. It might be a little off from that, but it's 3%. There's 110 basis points. By the way, I don't know if Allison's in here, but what is the difference? And this is not my message today, but when people say basis points, or they say point, or they say percent, what do all three of those have in common as a general statement to all of us in this business, whether in lending, title, or real estate? It's all the same thing. If you hear someone say 110 basis points, it's what? 1.1%. If you hear someone say it's 1 point, it means it's what? 1%. Most agents are always thinking, I'm just thinking about percents in my commission. When you hear basis, when you hear points, when you hear commissions or percentage, it's all the same as a general statement. It means different things, but the number ends up being the same. Okay? All right, so with that, December 13th, big deal. And the second component is that it's really good that there's challenges that are happening in the marketplace. Yeah, we have felt it, and I may remember March of 2022 when I said, hey, stop buying stupid stuff and get your house in order. That was 20 months ago, by the way. Hard to believe that 20 months have passed by when I said that, Mike. That's how long ago it was. I said I knew it would be 2 years, and every single data point, if you look at NAR, Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Penny Mac, any of these different places you look at, of course, the economist for the NAR is the most optimistic and believes that rates will be at 6% really starting in January. And then you have this flow of somewhere around 6.5%. I have said for nearly 1 year that you will see a tremendous change in just simply affordability and in real estate and real estate sales when rates are somewhere in the 6th percentile. And I don't think it needs to be 5. No, we're not talking about white hot refinancing. We're not talking that we need a frenzy out in the marketplace of craziness. We don't need any of that. But I can tell you this is what's kind of fun. You know, because we're such a large company, because we do so much business, still the number one office in the state. Just learned today we're the number one. I knew we were number one office in the U.S. for Century 21. Does anybody besides John Sight know how many offices are in the world for Century 21? Number one office. You're sitting in it. You're standing in it. Number one office in the world for 10 years. How many offices are in the world for Century 21? Zach can't answer either. He was in the room. How many know? How many? No, there's 155,000 agents.
Okay.
14,000 offices. Oh, you could have, you told him to see, yeah, that's right, you heard too, all right. That's right. But there's 14,000 worldwide, there's 14,000 offices. Guys, what you do in this room, and all the agents that we have, you are the number one office in the world, globally.
All right.
Yeah, cool, so congrats, right? So from that standpoint, that's why I always say, like, okay, well, some of you are like, well, I don't care that you're number one. What does that do for me? I don't know if it does anything for you, other than it's a nice sound bite. But what it does do for you is it makes you realize and maybe sit back and go, okay, what happens in this environment? What's different in this environment? What is it that happens for myself if I participate and if I'm there and things are happening and they're going the right direction and I'm showing up? Is there something positive that's going to happen? And guys, you are a testament to all that. So again, thank you for everything that you're doing. All right, so with that, I want to just pay attention to December 13th, because I think it's going to be an important day as to the speed in which you're going to see even a little bit more adjustment in those rates. And look, it's not going to change that. I'm not going to still scream and yell at you in so many words to go prospect. Of course, I'm going to tell you to participate. Of course, I'm going to tell you to go take more listings. And if you want to, we're not going to get into the NAR lawsuit stuff. By the way, even Justin Udit said it last week. Guys, it's business as usual. Nothing's changed for you, other than it's just a little bit of noise. Nothing has changed. Everything's the same. I had a conversation with Ruby. One of her clients said, well, I don't want to pay that buyer commission. Her response was, what was your?
Are you done?
Yeah, are you, sorry, she goes, are you done complaining? But you also said, did you want anybody to come see your house? Because if you don't, well, then that's the way to make sure you ensure it's gonna happen. Because the fact is that even NAR hasn't changed their philosophy. So guys, stop listening to all the noise. You know, there's some good things with those rates because we still have affordability issues. But the cool thing is there's still a massive housing shortage. And how many people know how many homes have to be created a day, whether it's an apartment or a day in Utah because of the influx and the net gain of population in Utah? What is it?
You told us.
I know, but you
Yeah,
tell me.
it's
Well,
33 homes.
33 homes a day, guys.
50,000
Did
people
you-
moving here.
Between 40 and 50,000 people a year are moving into this state. Did you just see that? Did you guys hear about the whole inland port got approved? Everyone, all the environmentalists, everybody's complaining about it. You realize that's a big deal. That means all the planes, all your freeways, highways in Utah are going to be expanded. You are one of the greatest moments in history for the state of Utah. Jack, what were we going to say?
I was going to say largest economic development in the history of the state.
Exactly. Guys, you are on the cusp of some of the greatest moments in history in this state. If you will stay your course, don't be diverted, don't get off track, stay your course, prospect, talk to people, make the connections, work with your sphere, you are on the cusp of some of the greatest moments in history when it comes to the game of real estate. So stay your course. All right, so with that, any questions on the market? Man, there are some really talented people in this room in lending, if you didn't know that. Some of you may not know them by face, but I'm telling you, some of the most talented human beings I've ever known in my life in lending. So just any questions in regards to lending, market, rates? Hey, what about this? And then we're gonna jump into this leadership stuff. Any thoughts, questions, comments? Dave, you're in deep thought. You look like there might be something on the edge of your mind to say. Nothing?
No, I'm good.
Really?
He's super excited to see
I'm
you.
excited.
He's super excited for Secret Santa?
No,
Oh.
no, to hear what you're gonna talk
I
about.
thought you said he should be excited about Secret Santa.
Sorry about Secret Santa, yes.
Great one.
Right? See, he should be. This guy has outperformed my wealth in like leaps and bounds, man. This guy is keep it up. You're doing good. Gosh, Mike, Jack, did you know I knew him when he was a team leader at Discover Card? Is when I first met him.
Coach, I wasn't even a team leader.
Oh, you were a team leader. You were a coach at Discover Card.
Didn't quite make team leader.
And just on seriousness, I met, and you now have how many doors?
52.
52 doors, and how much, would you be willing to share just how much gross income you have coming in each month with all of your,
13,000.
oh, that's the net.
Yeah, net.
So you have a net 13,000.
Yeah, 60.
And when did you really start buying properties, like really got aggressive?
About 8 years ago.
So you guys sometimes be like, oh, I'm so old. There's not enough time. Do you realize that that we were at 587 agents in this company 6 years into it. So somewhere about 6 or 7 years, he got serious about his investing. Is that fair?
Right.
Guys, you can build a fortune in your life in less than a decade. So stop buying into a story that it's too late, or it's going to take too long, or you don't know how it's going to happen. Most wealth will be accumulated within the decade. Then you just start compounding it. But just from the place of retirement, from a place of just knowing you're on the right track, knowing that you've achieved something, you can do it all in less than a decade. Every one of us, no matter how old you are. All right. Any other thoughts, comments, market? Anything else? All right, here we go. You guys ready? Say you're ready. Ready. All right, here we go. So let's just talk about just this leadership just in general. I've always appreciated John Maxwell's statement on leadership. I think it's a good one to write down. He said these words, he said them, who knows, maybe 30, 40 years ago. He said, leadership is nothing less or nothing more than what? Who knows the answer? Influence. You guys have heard that, right? It's your ability to influence people. So the real thing we're talking about today is how do we influence people? There's a lot of team leaders in this room. There's a lot of individual agents doing their own business in this room. There's people who have lots of different ways in which they're doing business. But the reality is that to be a great leader is to have influence. Now, here's the great challenge. You see influence happening in all sorts of ways. You see the media trying to influence you. You see the politicians trying to influence you. You see Joe Biden trying to influence you. You see Donald Trump trying to influence you. There's I think a Republican debate today. They're going to try to influence you. Everywhere you turn, someone's trying to influence you. Now the question is your influence either, in so many words, a voice of warning for how one should not live or do this business, or is it an example of how to really truly gain an edge in this business and in your life? Leadership is, man, it has so many complications and has so many different dynamics, right? If leadership could be that when someone has a loss in their life, has a challenge in their life, there may be tears flowing in their life. Well, if you acted like you're the drill sergeant and you're about to go into battle, that's not the right mechanism of influence. But if you're also in the battlefield and you literally were on the battlefield in war, like physically, the sergeant is going to say, let's hug this out. It's going to be okay. And bullets are flying everywhere. That's not the right model for leadership at that time. So there has to be one fundamental thing for leadership, and that is you have to have the ability to have versatility. Versatility. And the thing that's interesting about markets like this is you start to see the versatility of people as to whether they have any or have very little or have a lot. Their ability to pivot, their ability to have the versatility to know what is next. Now, the core thing that we're going to build off of today is something I heard many years ago, but man, it resonated. And it was in a time in the market when it was raging white hot. And I didn't take it I didn't take it in. Like, I heard it, but I was like, okay, that's nice, that's cute, that's really cool. But I realized that leadership, if we speak in regards to influence, it's this also. It is our ability to anticipate. And if you can anticipate what's going to happen next, if you can see what's going to happen next, that's what a great coach does on the ball field. That's what the great coach does on the basketball court. That's what a great coach does if they have their tennis player out there, is they anticipate what's going to happen next. Your job in working with buyers and sellers and lenders and title people, your job is to anticipate what's next. And the challenge is that even though you may not want to hear the truth of what's next, your job is to anticipate it. But the other component is that you need to innovate. So it's not enough to, sorry, I messed that up. Hopefully you can read that. But to innovate. So when I heard that, and I was sitting in a conference with over 2,000 people, I was down in the conference centers down in Vegas, and I was listening to Tony Robbins at a Business Mastery, and I heard him say those words. But the market was so good, I didn't really think, Chris, that it mattered. I was like, yeah, okay, that's cute, that's nice. Oh yeah, that's right, that's a really good thing. And then what I realized as I've watched recently is how few people have innovated, how they've recreated themselves, how they have pivoted, how they have become more versatile, the lack of it. Then there's people who aren't anticipating anything. They have their head stuck in the sand, acting like nothing's happened, and they're just going to hunker down and they're going to wait it out. And yet I know that's not this group. And hence in fact, you go in different places and you hang in different places and you start to see that there's people who have done one of three things. They have an absolute, write these down, I think they're a great thing to write down. Number one, they've made a decision to either leave things the way they were. Like I just wish it was how it used to be. And so they simply just wait. They just simply wait and do nothing. But the second group of people makes a decision that says, you know what? It's going to be better. And then the third is they show up and it gets worse. And guys, I fundamentally believe that is an absolute decision for a leader. Is it going to remain the same? Is it going to get better? Or is it just going to end up getting worse? When COVID hit, some of you may or may not remember, that was my champion, kind of my call. It was, hey, you got to make a decision here with COVID. Are you going to get better? Are you going to get worse? Or are you going to stay the same? But what I have found is that when you stay the same, you're just coasting. And if you're coasting, there is no way on earth you're going to win the game. There's no way, because you only coast going which direction? No one says, I'm coasting, but I'm going uphill. I'm coasting, I'm going what way? Down. So the only thing you have a choice in is, are you going to get better or are you going to get worse? And the question I've asked for years is, did the market get better or did you get better? Because the thing is there was a lot of people with a lot of arrogance and a lot of ego and a lot of belief that they were so grand, so great, everything they turned to sold. I mean, they were like that person who would you just sit there and go, what is wrong with you? And they would take credit for everything that was going good in the market. And then when the market turned, they're like, whoa, not my fault. And then they began to realize, although very few people will acknowledge this in their life, is that they stopped growing. And when the market was doing so well, and when the market was doing so grand and white hot, they forgot the one fundamental, and that is their personal growth. So next point, and I said this earlier to a small group, but there is an absolute correlation to your personal development and your income. Your personal income is in direct correlation to your personal development. And the thing is that if you can't recognize that, I'm telling you, as a dear friend, I'd sit down with you and I'm telling you, you're missing the mark. There is a reason why this organization years ago that John came up with this statement that says this. You guys have all heard it. In fact, Mike, you recently said it to me. And that is, I love the fact that this is a personal development company that just happens to do what? Sell some real estate. Because I don't care whether you're doing real estate. Frankly, I don't care whether you're doing lending. I don't care whether you're doing title. I don't care whether you're doing new construction, home warranties, TCing. I don't care what you're doing. Not because I don't care about you, because that's not the relevant factor. The factor is that if you're a great leader and you're going to be a great influencer and you want more business and you want more contracts signed and you want to build your team, then the question you got to ask yourself, if my income's going to go up, it is going to be in direct correlation to personal development. That's the reason why we love bad markets. See, the most talented people, the most successful people in the real estate or sales arena of just life, it doesn't have to be this real estate gang thing we're doing. They love tough markets. Why? Because the development of who they've become will make them more money. I sat with a guy worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's the guy you think that's weeding out there in the front yard of this building, Tom Lloyd. And this is what he said to me on Saturday. I made more money. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, guys. He goes, I made more money in bad markets than I have ever made in the good markets. What does that have to do with? What is it that he did? And the thing is, he developed himself. Now you say, well, what? He's not the big sales guy. That wasn't where he was trying to develop himself. He developed himself when he put in like $1 million into Bank of America when it was for $3 a share. And now it's $35 a share. And he's never sold it. Kind of nice to turn $1 million into $35 million in a little bit of a heartbeat. He was the guy who, when Ford went to $1.50 and he bought another $1 million, and all of a sudden now it's, I don't know what it is today, maybe someone could look it up, but just know this, that whenever he does that, he never sells it. Hundreds of millions of dollars because he developed himself as to how he chose to invest. So you have to get yourself committed to this idea. Stop calling it rah-rah. Stop calling it, I'm already motivated. It's not what it's about. It is a sacred stewardship to your life. That if you don't develop yourself at the highest of level of what you're capable of being, you will never earn the money that you're capable of earning. So at some point in this journey, you should sit back and, man, what is possible for me? What could I do? What could I really become? What could I really earn if I became this person? That's the magic behind everything we do. That's the beauty of everything that we do. So we start looking at, okay, wait a second here. If I'm going to make it in this industry today, knowing I still think that for those who don't work, that 2024 will be very challenging. But I know that if you work, you'll find the people who can afford it. Because yes, when rates are 8.5%, you can make it work. It's just even harder. But when rates are where they're going and what they have been most recently in the last few weeks, it makes it to where, wow, wait a second here. Can I anticipate that if I work harder, if I show up more, if I get more innovative, is there more in other ways I can figure out business? Wait a second, what if I develop myself personally as a leader, the way I communicate, the way I speak, the way I sell, the way I talk to people, the image I have, the words that I use, the scripts that I use, the dialogues that I use? What if I develop my ability to have compassion, empathy, love, care, concern at a whole other level? What if what they say, the new cool thing is to be, quote, vulnerable, as a Brene Brown will say. What if you became that person? What would happen if you just showed up in a room? How attractive would you be? What would people be drawn to because of the leader that you become? And at times, this can be so nauseating because you sit back and go, man, do I really want to work that hard? Most people don't. Hence, there's a very elite group, very small group that are willing to do that because there is a price to pay to become that. But only you ultimately can decide that. Make sense? Yes or yes?
Yes.
All right. Oh, so you didn't say yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking. All right. Okay, so next, let's just talk a little bit about if we're going to anticipate, innovate, if we're going to create our personal development. Let's talk about what great leaders do in relationship to their vision. Every great leader has a vision. Now make sure I'm clear. Great. Adolf Hitler had a vision, right? He had influence. I didn't write that up here, but he had influence. So sometimes we assume, well, influence must be all good. No, he was a voice of, he was a voice, an example of what not to be, but he was so influential and he had such a vision. He was so passionate about it. So when you start looking at your vision, this is the fundamental thing I would ask you. Is your vision, what you see, is it better than what you have today? That is a fundamental to a great, successful vision. Is it better than what you have going today? If it's not better, well, then the problem is that you're going to start casting visions of what you don't want and how hard it's going to be and how tough it's going to be and how it's not going to work out. But if you get really committed, you'll recognize that you casting a vision is all about making it sure it's better than it was before. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay? So if that's the case, then here's number two. We're going to do just kind of maybe an A, B, and C here on vision. Number one, it has to be better. Number two, it has to have, a sacrifice. Now, if you're taking notes, I hope you all are, but here's the question I would ask you. What do you want? Why do you want it? What do you have to do to get it? And is it worth it? What do you want? Why do you want it? What do you have to do to get it? And is it worth it? And in the end, only you can decide that. Only you. Only you can decide whether if it's better. Now, I've said this for years, but the great state of Utah that we live in was created by some pioneers. This isn't a religious lesson. This is about the fact that you have a state that was created by some people who had a vision. And just for curiosity, do you think that when they started out, those who were leading, let's even take the Brigham Youngs, do you think that he was casting a vision that it was going to be better or worse coming to the Salt Lake Valley? Better. What do you think Christopher Columbus was doing when they said the earth is flat? And he's like, no, it's not. Let's go. And there was all sorts of arguments and anarchy and craziness going on in his ship. Do you think that he was selling a vision that was better or worse? Better. When people got on the Mayflower and they were the Pilgrims and they had no religious freedom, no economic possibilities or future, do you think when they got on the Mayflower, even though they knew some of them would die, some of them wouldn't make it, how scary it probably was, do you think the people got on the ship that was going to be better or worse for them? Better. But every single one of those things I've described required number two on their B, whatever you're calling it. What did it require? A what? What did it require? A sacrifice. And here's the problem. Everything that is either, shown to you, advertised to you, told to you as a general statement is, let me tell you how much easier it could be if you do blank. And how, all the different exercise, gizmos and gadgets and programs, all of the ways to do and get real estate deals. We're going to turn this real estate industry into a retail business. You don't have to make a call. We're going to make it easier for all of you. You don't have to do anything. But the requirement of anything great is always required a sacrifice. Always. Now there's a third component that's really important here. And that is that it's temporary. And once you begin to realize that whatever you're moving through, how many people have ever been really sick? Just show of hands. Anybody been really sick? When you're really sick, I'm just curious, do you think that there's only been like 8 people in this room that have ever been really sick? Wow, I didn't realize that was such healthy people.
Compared to.
Who's been really sick? I've been really sick. Who's been on Dallas? Who's been on death's door? I've been there about 7 or 8 times. You've been there. Remember he was walking around with his heart issues, gray as a ghost, right? I mean, gray is not a ghost, because white is a ghost. What gray is what? I don't know. Gray is that beard. How about that? You got on your face, right? But the thing is that when you're in that moment of sickness, are you really talking to yourself going, this is just temporary. It's all going to be okay. No. What are you thinking? This is going to last for how long? Forever. And so then I go, Quinn, you need a prospect. And then I can tell you that you represent all humanity in real estate and mortgage. And then I say, you need a prospect. And then your brain goes, what does it say? Forever? No, Quinn, just for 2 hours. Well, does that mean forever? No, just 2 hours. Forever? And I'm telling you that our brain gets stuck in the fact that it's not temporary. The total opposite of that. So the fact of the matter is that as you're moving through your career and you realize that there's a sacrifice, realize that you'll build muscle, you'll build strength, you'll get used to it. It won't distract you. You won't be deterred. Nothing will stop. It'll all start to go away because you'll start creating momentum in the right direction. And when you operate from prospecting to knocking doors to calling your sphere, talking to your past clients, you name it, when you have a vision it's going to be better, you put a little sacrifice into the deal and you recognize it's temporary, you will be known as a visionary. And the thing is, it's so important that you become that visionary for yourself. I can cast a vision for you, but the greatest person to cast the vision is for you individually for your life. And so often we're focused on the scarcity of the moment. What something might be, what the cost would be, economically, the energy, the time, whatever it may be. And we're so fixated on the sacrifice or the scarcity that we never gain the idea of what's possible. If you just simply, for a moment, got rid of the cloud of it's always going to be this way and recognizing that everything, guys, your own life is temporary. Every religious thing you walked out in the world today has always been temporary. Everything's temporary. I still will never forget, we got some holidays coming up right in the middle of all sorts of different holidays from different walks of life and religions, and you sit back and you think, oh, I got lots of Christmases. Some of you certainly know what I'm going to talk about here, John, because we were listening to it. Just when you think about something. How many of you have a young kid? How young is your youngest? 2. You have 16 more holidays before essentially they move out. 16. And we'll say, no, we got 16 years. No, you got 16 times. When you start to realize that, then all of a sudden you start to be a better leader because you start being a little more present. See, some of you, whatever age you are, you don't have 30 Christmases or 30 Thanksgivings or 30 4th of Julys, 30 years, you have 30 times. And when you start to realize you have 30 times, 20 times, or maybe even only 10 times, it's more meaningful because everything's temporary. Everything. So get present and be someone who casts a vision and sees the future of what's possible. Now, some other key things in regards to vision. I have a lot of team leaders in here. I have a lot of people who either want to build a team or are on a team. And here's the beauty about if you're the person on a team, and in other words, you are the team because you're leading yourself. Some of you have teams. You've had either larger teams, smaller teams. You've shrunk your teams. You've consolidated your teams. You've seen me do it. But this is a really important principle. Your vision has to be big enough to include everyone. And you can finish the statement, everyone you want, but the vision has to be big enough. And the problem is that when people don't have a big enough vision, then their team, their environment becomes a revolving door. And people come in and they leave. Because what they can't see is that the vision that they have is not big enough for them to reside where they are. So wherever you sit in the leadership, if you're a team member, talk to your team leader and say, hey, I want to know your vision. I want to know what the vision is. Where are we going? Man, when we were making all sorts of changes, the number of people would walk into my office or pull me off to the side and go, hey, I'm just curious, where are we going? And at times they did a really good job of where we're going. I mean, just to be honest, did anybody second guess when we were doing all these changes and consolidating Centerville and selling off California and blah, 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 blah? And were you just like, where's he going? What's he doing? Right? When we made all the mortgage changes from going mortgage banking to mortgage brokering to be able to compete at the highest level with rates and programs and everything else. Where is he going? My job is to make sure you know where I'm going, where we are going. And if I'm failing at that, you as a follower, because man, great leaders are great followers, and there's a time to follow and there's a time to lead. That is a fundamental, we're not going to get into, but that is a critical component to great leadership. I was really impressed. Mike Hancock, the guy who I coach, pays me to coach him. And I was sitting there at the back of the room and he was giving all these wonderful accolades and doing his thing in a meeting just like this. And I said, you know what? I've noticed something. Boy, you are dynamic. And I said, you always come to my office so teachable. And then I'm watching you lead your team, standing at the front of the room, leading agents, trying to teach them some principles and things that will help them build their business. And I'm like, man, what a great balance, Mike. You should be very proud of that. Your ability to be taught and your ability to follow and your ability to lead. That is a great component to being a great leader. And so often we forget the fact that we've got to be a great follower. So as you're moving through this, just remember, if you're the guy who's following or a gal who's following, do yourself a favor. If you're unclear, unsure, go ask a team leader. Go ask the leader that you're working with, hey, where are we going? And on the other side, if you are that leader, man, you got to share the vision. And you might say, well, how often? All the time. It's where we're going. That's the mountain. This is where we're going. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. This is where we're going. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. Come on. Let's go. And cast the vision of how grand and great it will be. But if your vision is if it's not spoken of, if it's not talked of, if it's not openly discussed and people don't know it, your life is this revolving door of people coming in and out of it. I am so proud and honored. Like, my best friend back there, John Syatt, 30 years. Ruby, how long have we worked together? 11 years. Joanna, how long have we worked together?
17.
Right? I mean, I look at the years. How long have we worked together, Kenzie? Just kidding. So, Kenzie's my daughter, right? How long have we been working together, Dylan? I'm just kidding. When he showed up, I gave him no time of day. And he'd be like, he doesn't seem that bad. I get these comments like Bella now does. You need to be nice to him. I'm not mean. I just don't say anything. Your silence is scary enough. I'm like, okay, I'll say something. All right. By the way, highlight of my day, of my week. Last year, like we talked about consolidating and doing what we're all doing together. I'm so much fun. We're on such a great journey, all of us. This is gonna be so fun where we're going. But last time at Olympus High School, I start barking at the ref. I'm on the second row. I start barking, and finally the guy goes, hey, do you want to see this game from your doorstep or do you want to see it in the gym? And I'm like, and I just looked at him and I looked away. I'm like, I wanted to say, what I really want is for you to call the push-off that these kids keep doing from Olympus. But just so you know, who doesn't like Olympus? Okay, I just check it. Okay, exactly, okay? I went to Skyline, but I'm also, Seawood or Cottonwood. I'm always absolutely annihilated them on varsity basketball for women's basketball. Beat them by 24 or 5 points. It was epic. And then 2 fathers got thrown out. Literally, they stopped the game from Olympus. It was awesome. It was awesome, all right? All right, that has nothing to do, Dave, with what we're talking about, but it was a victory. Want to talk about gratitudes? That's my gratitude. Watching Olympus lose, all right? Sorry, is there any Titans in here? There's got to be a Titan in here. Are you a Titan? Oh, gosh, okay. It's a nice school, but not good players, I'm just saying. Okay, all right. Okay, so, did you go to Olympus? You didn't go to Olympus, did you? Oh, no, you went to Northridge, that's right. We didn't like them either, because it was Northridge and Skyline, who were always playing for the championship in football. All right, I don't like you either. Where'd you go, Zach? Huh?
Don't lie.
Okay, about the Cougars, they hated their soccer team.
You're wrong already.
I know, see? And they always were winning with the state championship in soccer. Aren't they still good in soccer? Isn't that kind of their deal? I don't know. Might be the only thing they're good at. I don't know. I'm just kidding. All right. Jordan, where'd you go to high school? Umont. Okay. I don't have anything bad to say about them. All right.
Good either.
Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going. So we're talking, remember, just recap here. Gosh, we're running out. We got 8 minutes, all right? So leadership, influence, anticipate, innovate. We're personal development. We're working on our vision. So here's the one thing that I want to leave you with. And that is that great leaders recognize they make a difference. You know, I really appreciate, I had some time that I got to spend with Dave. We spent a few hours together on a weekend, and one of the things we were, he doesn't even know this, but as we were driving around it dawned on me is that there's people who get really committed to wanting to make a difference. And, we were doing some recruiting. If you didn't know, Zach back there is doing some recruiting with us, and he I'm not going to say what he said, but let's just say he gave you your accolades.
I'll say what you want.
Yeah, no, I don't need you saying it. I'm not saying it. But he's giving your accolades. And I was thinking about the fact of the difference that each one of us makes. And I know this is an old story for some of you, but I have to repeat it. And I have to tell you, I repeated it earlier this week. I think even it was yesterday. And I was talking to a couple hundred agents in another company on a national level. And I was speaking to them, and I didn't even realize I had that many. I thought I was only talking to 20 or 30 people, and then it dawned on me there was like nearly 200 people. It seemed like I don't know, it was like 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of the Zoom. I started scanning through it. So however many can get on a Zoom, that's what it was. I think it was 5, 6, 7 pages of Zoom. So whatever that represents. And as I was speaking, guys, I am conclusive in my life, at least the 52 years that I've been on this planet, is that people are born to make a difference. Zig Ziglar used to say that. And the challenge is that I just want to share 2 quick stories with you and we'll wrap up. And the first one's very, very quick. It's one you guys have all heard. I mean, Dave, you've probably heard it literally, who knows, 100 times or more. But it's just the simple thing of that if, Chris and Jason were walking in the high Uintas, and they're walking out, and all of a sudden a big grizzly bear jumps out. All that has to happen, as long as Jason outruns Chris, which he probably wouldn't. No, I don't think so. No, I'm just kidding. He might though. But as long as you outrun Jason, then you're okay. And most people are living their life based on looking all around them and looking at what other people are doing, and they're basing their success of what they believe their successes have been is based on what other people are doing. And as long as they beat that person, they've succeeded. One of the things I cherish about this organization is the camaraderie, the collective creation that occurs, the cheering that happens. But there's also, yes, there's a competitive nature to this organization, where I know people want their name on the boards, they want their names on the screens, they want their names up at the summits, they want to achieve. But there's this wonderful balance they see that's an essence, I believe, of this organization, and that is, it is really this focus of really what could I do? And if you'll operate your life based on the fact that it's not in comparison, as this late Zig Ziglar said, it's not in comparison to what did you do in relationship to what you could have done, but the real measuring stick is what did you do in comparison to what you could have done. That's the story of, the bear jumping out of the woods and 2 people are there. And if one just outruns the other one is, goes down and the other one is just fine. And although there's some fun with that story, the fact is that if you're living your life right now that way as a leader, that you're just trying to outperform. You can be inspired by the great people in our business. You can be inspired by what people are doing. And it should be like what got me in this business. Man, if they can do it, so can, what is it? So can I. You can. Whatever. If you're watching someone else do something extraordinary, so can you. There's nothing you can't learn or nothing you can't do. So once you start to realize that this is really about becoming your greatest version of you, the greatest version of yourself, then all of a sudden you start to recognize that, man, stop the comparing. Be inspired. Be motivated by what others might be doing, but don't let that be the end. What if you could outproduce way beyond that? What if you could become far more than that? What if you could be a better communicator? You could earn more money. You could do more deals. See, I'm inspired that Dave has 50 plus proper, 50 plus doors. I'm inspired by that. And maybe I might do more than that. But because I'm inspired doesn't mean I need to compete with him. Because I also know him, that he'd tell you every single way in which he's done it. In fact, that sounds like a good class, doesn't it? Jordan, you like to hear that class?
Let's do it. Yeah.
You open to teaching that?
Sure.
I'd love to have you do that. I think it'd be awesome, okay? So as you start thinking about that, just recognize, man, you are your greatest measuring stick. It's why we journal. It's why we meditate. It's why we do all these wonderful things to help encourage our psychology, our thoughts, our feelings as to who we want and try to become. Go back to this difference. You know, 2 days ago, I was talking to my brother. Some of you know this story, but I just want to remind you, man, remember, man, Socrates, I've never forgotten I heard it, man, learning is remembering. It's not like you don't know this. I know that you each make a difference. I know that you actually believe that, and I think that you think that. But if you aren't someone who thinks that today, or if you sometimes you forget, I just want to tell you this quick story. So Jennifer and I were back east, and we were at a Century 21 event at the time. We flew out. We were out there having a good old time. It was actually an awards trip. As we were out there, in the same time frame, my brother, Rick, was going through a real heinous divorce. And as he was going through this divorce, and all the challenges that were occurring, he decided to change his insurance policy. I know some of you have heard this. This is purposely being told to you. Because yesterday I said it, or 2 days ago I told it again, and I'll tell you, I still got choked up. Because it reminded me of who I am. Not because of who Rick was, because of who I am. So let's just stay with me for a minute on this. So we're there, we do our thing. I try to get a hold of Rick, and we talked every morning just because he was struggling so deeply, because he was going through a pretty brutal divorce. As he was going through the divorce, he decided it would probably be a wise decision, not an unwise decision, which was to change the beneficiaries on his life insurance. So he goes off that morning, he says, hey, I'm gonna go get my change my life insurance policies. I'm gonna change them and I'm gonna put them in the name of my children. I'm like, Rick, that's a great idea, I like it. So he goes off to do that. I check on him, I don't know, a little bit later, no answer. I text him, no answer. I call him, no answer. This goes on for several hours. Then I keep calling him, and I keep calling him, and then eventually it goes to where it just goes straight into voicemail as if his phone is off. Well, you can imagine that moment. I'm thinking that this is the worst time. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, my brother has taken his own life. He's gone somewhere up in these mountains. He's disappeared, and we'll probably maybe find him, who knows when. And I was so convinced that that is what he was contemplating, that is what he was doing, that I engaged a good friend of mine, a great friend of mine, a great loan officer, Jason Erskine. Some of you know him. I said, Jason, hey, some of you, if you could you go and see him and see if he's home? So around 10 o'clock at night, midnight East Coast time, Jason's on his way there. But then Rick's phone started to actually ring. It had been dead all day. It wouldn't ring. It'd just go straight to voicemail. And he answered. This is where the story for me is important. I hope it's important for you. He said these words, what? Of course, I remember when I lost Kenzie in the Salt Lake airport, I was freaking out. I couldn't believe I'd lost her. What would I do? My life couldn't be without her. The moment I found her, I wanted to kill her. It was one of those deals, right? That's a true story. I'm looking up at the screen and she's gone. And I am flipping out. Then I find her and again, I want to kill her. If you've ever lost your child, it's like, all the worst nightmares of all those things. So he answers and says, what? And I said, what do you mean, what? I'm like, where have you been? And he goes, can I take a break? And I go, well, yeah, you can take a break, but how about you communicate And we start barking at each other, and finally it got up to, we're brothers and we're barking, and I'm like, shut up! And he's like, you shut up! Or like something like that. I'm like, you shut up! And of course, my voice, if you haven't figured out, is just a little louder than the majority of humanity. I start raising my voice louder and louder and telling him, shut up, shut up, shut up. And finally he shuts up. And then with the most sincere tone, I said, you forgot. And he's like, forgot what? And of course, as a brother, I'm like, shut up! And I'm like, you forgot. And I said, you forgot that you have 2 sons, a beautiful daughter that love you. You forgot. And I said, and I know that you are about to take your life. Just remember, gosh, I can still get choked up because I just talked to him a day or 2 days ago. I said, you forgot. And I'm just going to tell you, guys and gals in this room, all of us, you forget that you make a difference. I'm telling you, you won't go out and make a difference. Gosh, all this stuff that we talk about, all these leadership principles, books you can read and all the things, but man, if you forget, then you don't step into the greatest of yourself. And my call to you is to speak to the greatest version of you. And if you've forgotten that you make a difference to your children, to your loved ones, to your parents, to your friends, to this business, to the people who need you, think of the many times that people have said, oh, I needed to hear from you. I needed to see you. How did you know I needed to hear that? How did you get my number? Do you realize that out there, people are praying, they're disbelief, and they're depressed, they're sad, they're hopeless out there, and they're just waiting for someone like you to show up and go knock, knock on their door and go, how did you know I was thinking of selling? The number of times in my career that people have said these words, how did you know? How did you know? The best advice, and I'll leave you with this last thought, the best advice I got from one of my dear mentors, and still this day, I love him literally like a father, Robert Fillmore. And Robert said, anytime someone's name comes into your head, anytime you feel like an impression to call this agent, to talk to this person, I'm going to challenge you to call them. And I just bought his company. And that was the first advice he gave me. And there's been many people in this room that I have called upon you, and you don't know that you've been in my mind. My gosh. Every day in my office, I get people whose lives are so out of control and who are hurting so badly, who are so damaged and have so much trauma and so much difficulty. And it doesn't have to just be in my office, it can be anywhere. But I am telling you that if there is anything you could do right now, and you've heard this from me, but just simply treat everybody you meet as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives. And you're going to be right most of the time. So if you can be anything today, be kind. And the thing is that if you recognize that you make a difference and you treat people as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives, and all of a sudden you recognize that you have influence, and all of a sudden you start moving through life a lot different. And you start moving through life with a lot more conviction, a lot more solidness. You stand in your solidness. You stand solid. And people are drawn to you because they know that if they talk to you, speak to you, align with you, that their lives will be different because of it. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of who we choose to become. Guys, I've made lots of mistakes in my life. And you know that the hierarchy that I deeply believe in, if you don't know this, is integrity, people, money. But it took me a lot of mistakes, a lot of stupid crap, a lot of errors to help me to figure out that I don't know if anyone can ever be perfect, but I do know that there's a decision that we each make in our life. And that is that we strive for something. I strive to have integrity, but I haven't always had it. I strive to have it. I strive to take care of people, but there have been moments when I haven't, and I was so self-serving. I strive to make money and to earn it and to live every dream I have. But there's been many moments in my life where I've had literally nothing. And as I put my arms around Jennifer and held her with tears running down her face and saying it's going to be okay, because somehow I hadn't figured out how to provide. But I always strived. And so as you move through the journey of your life, you move through these holidays, you move through all the chaos, you move through just life, just remember that the very principles you're learning as to how to lead in business are the exact same things you'll do to lead others, whether it's your children, your friends, your parents, your siblings. How about this? Those you love, because they're all universal. And so the problem with being in this environment, if you haven't figured out, is that if you don't want to grow, this is a hard environment to be in. When you don't want to grow and be positive and think great things and make a difference, man, you avoid environments like this because it is so tough to be in when you don't want that. So I just would commend you for the desire for wanting to be more, the desire to wanting to take your life to a different level, the desire. Because guys, so many people don't have that desire. So you should be very proud that you want to become more, do more, achieve more, accomplish more, and live the dreams that you're destined to live. So just, it is always an honor to be with you. And I love the fact that you show up. Go make a difference. Go talk to people. Go submit to the process, right, Brenda Lee? And see what's possible for you. Because, man, there's not one part of this business you can't do. Nothing you can't learn, nothing you can't do. So don't get caught into the trap of your sadness and woe is me. Plug into this environment, plug and play. Guys, I am so grateful for team leaders like Dave, Austin, Amy, Mike, and others. I'm missing someone. I hate the fact, April, others who have brought people into their team when some of the most difficult moments of business have ever occurred in my life. When I was running California, doing different things. But seeing this, man, it warms my heart because this is what Everest is. This is who we are. So just know how grateful I am because I have observed and I have seen what you have done. I have seen that I have not necessarily at times been available because my bandwidth has been so spread so thin. It has been so much fun to be here. And more importantly, to yell at refs for my girls' basketball games because I missed every game but 3 of them last year. I've been to more games this year than I did all last year. Just remember, when you're climbing the ladder of success, just make sure your ladder's up against the right building. Remember that. I had to take a U-turn as I was building and growing and realized, whoa. And John and I realized, this isn't the right building. This is, we know it. Hence, we're so deeply aligned and you're seeing it with the body of the people that we have here. So thank you. Love you guys. Have a great week. Okay?